Let's go live now to my colleague Jade Lee-Paulser, where the Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development will today be leading a walk for freedom against human trafficking in Durban. The Deputy Minister leading that walk. The walk, we understand, has been organised by Abolishing All Injustices in the 21st Century in partnership with the department and other stakeholders. A21 is a non-profit organisation which aims to end slavery by reducing vulnerability, identifying victims and empowering survivors. SABC News reporter Jade Lee-Paulser is live with us now. Jade, good morning. Great to see you again. A bit of a scorcher out here in Johannesburg. Looks like it's the same where you are, but you're in the heat. And tell us about this walk.
A very good morning to you, Griselda, and to the viewers back at home. Actually, when the walk was taking place earlier this morning, it was actually pouring down with rain, so we couldn't bring you those live visuals, but we have sent them to you, and hopefully we can have them up on your visuals shortly while we engage the Minister on this particular walk. But yes, Griselda, a very important walk that took place this morning, a walk for the abolishment of human trafficking. It is modern-day slavery, and we've seen these cases come to the fore. Several people started to speak out. A couple of years ago, we didn't know what human trafficking was, what it entailed, but it's so much deeper. And there's so many aspects of human trafficking. There's organ trafficking as well. But just to engage the Minister on this, I am joined by Deputy Minister of Justice, Jeffery. Thank you so much for speaking to the SABC News this morning. We saw the march taking place. Let's talk about the significance of this march and how far we've really come as a country, as South Africa, to stop and end this modern-day slavery, human trafficking.
Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jade. This march is part of an international program organised by A21, an international organisation against human trafficking. So as government, Department of Justice, the police were here, the Metro Police, we were participating in that and supporting it. And it's a march that's taking place in a number of different locations in South Africa today and across the world. And it's designed to generate publicity, awareness in the campaign against human trafficking. How far we've come as a country, we've got a very comprehensive piece of legislation called the Prevention and Combating of Trafficking in Persons Act, which has been in operation since 2015. The key issue is to ensure that that is implemented. That sets up the crime of human trafficking. Before the Act came into effect, trafficking for sexual purposes, trafficking of children was illegal. This extends it to a number of other kinds of trafficking, labour trafficking, for example. There's a national coordinating committee on anti-trafficking that government runs. And there's a number of policies and positions. So the key issue is the implementation of that act.
In terms of the cases that are being brought to police, why are we seeing that people are shying away from coming out and speaking about what is happening to them? Because there has been cases, but people are just not reporting it to the police.
Yeah, the trafficking is described as basically a shadows crime, a secret crime, crime that takes place in the shadows. And it's basically because people who are forced into trafficking are generally vulnerable people. They're doing it because of their circumstances, often economic, and so they're reluctant to report. So I do really want to emphasize that if there are any cases of trafficking, any victims of trafficking, they must please report to law enforcement, to the police. If they're concerned about their safety, there are things like witness protection. They can also contact the National Trafficking Hotline. I don't have the number on me, but please to report it. Maybe just also to say a bit about what is human trafficking. I mean, it comes in different forms. So it can be somebody who's been brought into the country to work selling sex. But it's not always that. It can be people, and I think in our continent, in Africa, it's mainly men who are trafficked, and mainly in the labour sector. So basically people desperate for work, who then end up in a situation where they're forced to work, not given the option to leave. That's human trafficking. But human trafficking can also be debt bondage, which does happen with people selling sex. A young woman thinks that she's having got a boyfriend. It turns out that boyfriend is forcing her to have sex with other people and then saying that she owes him money and she can't be released from this debt of giving sex to people until she's paid off that debt. So that's debt bondage. It can also be an issue of a family in a rural area in South Africa that's very poor. Somebody approaches them, it could be somebody else in the extended family, to say, look, let your youngest daughter or one of your daughters come and work for us in the city. And the daughter goes off and works. She's not given any say in the matter. She doesn't even get the wages. The wages go back to the family in the rural area. So that's also human trafficking. It can be something like forced marriages, traditionally ukutwala, or the wrong practice of ukutwala, where an agreement is made between the groom, the guy looking for a wife, and the family of the girl, that she will marry him, and she's then forced into that marriage without actually having consented to it. That's also human trafficking.
I actually just wanted to touch on that ukutwala, but you've spoken in depth about it. Now, Deputy Minister, in terms of organ trafficking, not much is being spoken about that, but we do know that this is occurring in South Africa and across the African continent.
Look, we don't, as far as I know, we haven't had reported cases of organ trafficking. I know it happens in other parts of the world, South America, for example. It hasn't been that prevalent here. Obviously the issue is there's a demand for human organs, for livers, kidneys, hearts, whatever, and people can get seized for that. It may well come here, so we've got to be on the lookout for it.
Thank you very much. Well, that was Deputy Minister of Justice, John Jeffery, just talking to us about the march that took place this morning, Griselda. It was a march to end human trafficking, as you heard the Deputy Minister talking about some of the cases, but also going into detail with what is human trafficking, just breaking that term down. And so often, then most times, people don't know that they're actually being trafficked, as you heard there, talking about the different types of human trafficking that we found in South Africa, but also touching on organ trafficking, saying that there hasn't been cases in South Africa, but they do, and they are keeping a lookout and an eye out on that. And as we see these marches picking up throughout the country as well as abroad, we do know that there are several peaceful protests that are also occurring in KwaZulu-Natal, in Belito and Amanzimtoti. Well, let's go back to you in studio and link to an ad break.
Jay, when we were watching